Hey everyone, welcome to video number 2 in our two-part series of the 4 triggers for emotional eating. Today we are going to talk about the food trigger and the behavior trigger. So let's start with the food trigger. Now, it's important to note that the food trigger is not really about food. Again, it's about a belief that you have or a perception that you believe to be true. And it is self-defeating or self-punishing. By that I mean that this belief or perception really causes you to sabotage yourself when it comes to your nutrition program and achieving your goal. So let me explain. I'll give you an example of a food trigger or a distorted thought around food. You know, I've heard this one quite often. I don't believe in wasting food. You know, the holidays are coming up and it's going to be hard to stick to my nutrition plan because I don't believe in wasting food. So there we have a belief system that is in place that will then drive your eating behaviors, which means with that belief system in place, you then will tend to want to consume all of the leftovers that you have after your holiday event or your dinner, and this can lead to binge eating or eating late at night just because you don't believe in wasting the food. You don't believe in, after you're satisfied or after you're full, getting rid of the leftovers. So with that explanation, you then can really begin to see that it's not so much about the food, it is about the belief system. So during the program, what I do when dealing with food triggers that are based in belief systems, we start a line of questioning. You want to ask yourself the following: what can you do then to avoid having excess food during the holidays? Do you really have to eat all of the leftovers? And is there really a scarcity of food? Like, if you decide not to consume your leftovers, will you have no food tomorrow? And you look at your answers to those questions. And really, we start again shifting those belief systems that are self-defeating to more positive territory, to more empowering types of belief systems. Now, along with food triggers that are based in belief systems, we also have backdoors. A backdoor is basically another belief system that comes along after the first one. Very common backdoors that I've heard are, I will get back on track tomorrow. How often have you said that? Or, I can walk it off tomorrow. How effective has that been? Now, these are two very common backdoors that keep people locked in the cycle of emotional eating, binge eating, or eating too much. Because again, you believe that you will get back on track tomorrow, which really never happens, or you're constantly always getting back on track. Or you also believe that you can walk it off. And it's amazing that I still hear people saying that when that is not true. You cannot walk off what you ate, but that would be a video for another time. So when you start becoming aware of the beliefs that you have around food, and how they are contributing to your lack of success, then you can start taking action to work on those beliefs and to shift them so that you will be able to make better choices. Again, this is something that I do in my program, and I want you to understand everyone has different types of belief systems that they're working through, and this is why this program is pretty much an individualized program. A lot of these belief systems, like I said, they're very common, but there could be some other underlying reasons that are particular to an individual, and this is why doing the individual work is very necessary when it comes to overcoming your emotional eating issues. Now, sugar is another food trigger for most people. As a nutritionist, I understand that, and I understand it from a physiological standpoint of that sugar can be very addictive. And so oftentimes, people will say, when I eat sugar, it's like I can't get out of the sugar cycle. I end up on a binge. There are physiological and biological reasons for that. And like I said, I can get into those in another video. Right now, I wouldn't say that you have to avoid sugar completely. It's just about being mindful about the types of sugar that you're going to consume. And I go into more nutrition education in my program, and also, we talk a little bit more about the sugar issue. So I'll say, if you find that you tend to, when you're feeling tired and sluggish, you tend to reach for sugar, which then gives you an immediate high and makes you feel better, but 35 to 40 minutes later, you experience fatigue and very low energy, then you may want to start to look at, what you're eating, the types of things that you're eating, and make some changes there. But let's move right along and talk about the last emotional eating trigger. It is the behavior trigger. Now, the behavior trigger really stems from habit patterns of eating that also result in unwanted behaviors. One of the most popular ones is eating in the car. I think we've evolved in this society where we have a drive-through for everything. Everyone is really so busy or too busy to stop and eat, so we go through the drive-through, we grab the food, and we eat in the car. Now, that in itself, of course, you see, will result in unhealthy eating behaviors, because most drive-through restaurants are fast food restaurants and really don't contribute to your overall health and wellness anyway. So if you tend to eat in the car on the run all the time, then it's more than likely your eating behaviors are not conducive to having great health. Another behavior trigger for most people would be maybe attending certain types of events. Again, you go to these events and you believe that because you are at this event, then you have to indulge in the food that's presented at the event for it to be enjoyable. Like, a behavior trigger would be, I know for me, this is a big one, and some of you may be able to identify with it. It may be something else for you. For me, a behavior trigger for me is buying popcorn at the movies. And I know people have heard me say, and I say it all the time, and now I realize exactly what it is that when I go to the movie and I buy popcorn, I can't stop eating. I'm focused on the movie, and I'm just mindlessly eating until the entire bucket is done. And so I know that for me, the behavior trigger in that is going up to the window and buying popcorn when I'm at the movie. So when I realized that, because I could eat a large popcorn, just eat the entire thing, and then come out of the movie feeling stuffed, sick, and disgusted. So when I created some awareness around that, what I've done is that when I decide to go to the movie, I make sure that I eat a full meal before I go to the movie. And that way, when I get to the movie, I am not hungry and I can bypass the popcorn counter. So, that is just one strategy that helps you to get around that behavior trigger. Of course, the first thing is recognizing what the behavior is that triggers the overeating episode and dealing with the behavior. And when you deal with the behavior, then the overeating then becomes no longer a problem or less of a problem. So I want you to take some time to sit down and do some journaling around this. Do some journaling around, are you experiencing loneliness triggers? Are you experiencing anger triggers? Are there belief systems that you have in place about food that cause you to eat? Or do you have those back doors thinking I can walk it off tomorrow, so you eat whatever you want and you end up in this continuous cycle? Or is there a behavior trigger that you can make some adjustments to, that you can change so that you can have more success, so that you can get control over your emotional eating and over your thinking and your belief systems, so that you can begin to create habits that will lead to long-term success. I hope these 2 videos served you in some way and helped you at least to become a little bit aware of what's going on when you're experiencing emotional eating. And if you would like, please feel free, as I say, to schedule a discovery call. You may inbox me or reach out to me on my website and schedule a complimentary discovery call. You can tell me a little bit about what you're going through, and we can see, how we can maybe work together, if that's possible, to help you to begin to create lasting success with your health and fitness goals.